Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Chris Kane here with the Unofficial Therapy Podcast here on Thanksgiving night. What's up, y'all? It's been a while. I've been kind of all over the place, slacking on the podcast. I've been working on other projects that have taken my attention away. And I'm sure you guys have been sitting at home waiting patiently, thinking, when is the next time he's going to bless us with a podcast? Well, I don't have a person in the studio today, so there'll be no interview portion. But I do have a few things I want to talk about because it's a holiday and I miss y'all. So we're going to talk about it. Obviously, the theme of the day is thankfulness, right? Everyone shares thanks on Thanksgiving is built into the title, right? Spending time with the family, um, significant others, excessive amounts of food. That's something to be thankful for right there. A lot of people like to eat. I'm included. Um, this is the first Thanksgiving in like my recent years I haven't spent with like family or like really really close friends, and it was odd. It was odd. It was. I mean, my family's in Florida. You guys know that I'm in California now, so my family was away, and my friends are back there as well. Um, and I'm single, so I don't have like a girl to spend it with. So it's interesting. Um, I was kind of aimless for most of the day. I was watching football, watching the Cowboys get ran. For all the Cowboy fans out there, you can take that L. Eventually, I spent the day with some coworkers, and it was fun. We chopped it up, we ate, it was all good. But I'm not particularly close to anybody, so it's just nice to spend time with people. But it's different, man. Like seeing all the posts and everyone's like got their whole family together with the sweaters and a dog in the back, and it's my family's never been that. We've never been that Thanksgiving family. I have a huge family on mom and dad's side, and we usually do like the Christmas thing. If we do Thanksgiving, it's usually just one or two aunts and uncles. It's never been like all seven or eight of us in a room at the same time doing Thanksgiving. So um, it got me thinking about like traditions and family. And once I have a family, do I want to try to make new traditions where we do a Thanksgiving thing with goofy sweaters, or do we celebrate the day after, like the day before, like people do with Valentine's, where they go out like on the 13th or the 15th or whatever? Like I started thinking about all these things, and it was I don't know, it put me kind of in a weird space to try to figure out what's the best way to go about it. I think I want the traditional thing, like whenever I get married and have kids, like 20 years later, I want them to, uh, let me pull out the goofy sweater and the stocking, or where the fuck, not stocking, the turkey or whatever. Like I feel like that would be goofy and annoying to the kids, obviously, but I think there's value in tradition, and there's something beautiful about having 20 family members in the same room mutually contracting diabetes and hypertension and saying, I love you guys so much. This is what diabetes feels like. I think there's something beautiful about that. And I know I found myself, I'm not a particularly jealous person. I don't like get jealous in like relationships or like other comics and that kind of thing. But I do sometimes get jealous about family traditions and stuff. I do, because it's something we never had. And for better or for worse, it made me who I am. But I do think about it from time to time. Like, man, I wonder what it would be like if we had like a ritual that we did, and we all kind of like abided by it, and kind of for that moment suspended our disbelief and whatever and did it. And I mean, maybe it's too late now, but it's something to think about. But aside from that, minor thing, I am very thankful for where I am in life, though. And I get asked often, are you happy you moved to California? Right? Are you happy that you started over? You went to chase the dream? Are you happy about that? And I always try to reframe it, because I think that's the wrong question. Um, I think of what I'm doing now as like a med student going through med school, and then when they get to being a doctor, they look back on med school like I had to go through that to become a doctor. So what I'm doing now is my version of med school. And I don't know any med student who actually likes med school. But there's valuable lessons along the way, and you pick up more and more about what you want to do going forward. So then when you get to that point, you can do it well. Um, so am I like happy? Am I enjoying it? I think that's no, not especially. But there's always little moments that kind of keep you going and that make you, enjoy parts of the process, right? Like seeing something pan out, right? You put a certain amount of work in and it turns out to be good. You go to an audition and you get a call back. That's good. You meet someone who like thinks similarly to you and it's like, okay, cool, we vibe, right? There's something valuable and beautiful about that. And so there are moments during the process that you do enjoy. And so I'm at the place where I'm pushing through, right? It's the end of the year. Most people are kind of throttling down. I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm throttling up so I can go into next year and crush it, because next year to me is the most critical. To me is like the most critical year of my life. I want to be as on top of my game as I want to be. And so I'm doing the prep work for it now, like ratcheting up now. So when January comes around, everyone wants to hit the switch. My switch has been hit, and I've been locked and loaded, and I've been moving forward. That's that's what I'm trying to do. So I believe in the process of stuff. I talk about the process a lot. I'm not a 76ers fan, but if you get the reference, you know what I'm talking about. Um, I think most of the great teams in sports, like the Patriots, Alabama football, Spurs, whatever, they all kind of have a process they abide by. They get certain players, make them play a certain way, and the results are similar across the board. I actually think all three of the coaches for those three teams have 5 championships, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like kind of scary, the symmetry. But the process of what I'm doing now um, has changed from depending on from when I started to where I am now. Like there's moments where you're going a certain way and you think, okay, this is the right way to go about it, and then results turn out a certain way, and then you have to evaluate, is your process flawed or is just the result not what you desired. And if your process is on point, and my basic premise behind my process is, if I work at a certain clip and I commit to something a certain way, eventually it's going to turn out the way I want it to, right? That's my basic premise on life, really. And so when you're going through something and it's not going the way you want it to, I think you have to look at your process and look at your premise at least to see if, all right, am I flawed in my overall thinking? But if you really believe it, then you kind of have to stand on it and you have to kind of push through it. And so my process has been challenged a few times since I've been here, but I believe that the process is good because I believe that my premise is right. And if based on that, I have to keep going. So whenever things go a little sideways, or I drop the ball, or hardships, like it's easy to look in that moment and just be like, man, this sucks, and you want to kind of fold it and start from scratch. But I think the process, if you believe in it, you have to push through it. And I think that's the hard part for a lot of people, depending on what you're going through. If it feels like you're going through something really, like really tragic, or something that's really like gut wrenching and soul crushing on some level, that to look outside of that situation and then say, all right, this is a really, really, really low part of where I am. But overall, this is all working out. That level of like, I guess introspection, but also like that kind of macro view of what you're going through is really hard to come by. And so what happens is people start going through things, and then they abandon the process, even if it was actually the right thing to do, and they get onto some new thing, something that just makes them feel better. Usually, some like version of hedonism, right? And so you just, all right, this is what I've been doing, but let's say someone who's really buttoned up, right? Wake up at this time, go to bed at this time, XYZ. You work at a company for 10 years, you think you're up for a promotion, you go out for it, and they give it to somebody else. And then instead of just keep doing the work and keep going through with it, you just say, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna start my own business. Or you just kind of you stop working like you used to, and then the quality of what you do drops a little bit. You just say, I'm gonna start going out more, start staying up later, start drinking more, whatever, whatever. And then by the end of it, the thing you used to stand on, which is I do good work, and eventually I'll get rewarded with a promotion, is now, you're at some point gonna be fighting for your job because somebody behind you is doing good work trying to take your job. And so then you have to kind of like get back on top of your game. And you're like, why did I step away for a second? Why did I go off on this random life tangent? It's because you changed your process. You just kind of abandoned ship, but you were still heading in the right direction. It just got a little choppy. It's it's a skill, I think, that needs to be practiced because this is my life mantra, and I often have to reevaluate, and I often have to sit back and think, am I doing this the right way? Am I being stubborn? Because those two really kind of come to a head a lot of times, right? The idea of the process is good, follow the process, versus you're you're stubborn enough to believe your process is good, and so you're blinded to the fact that maybe you need to change. Right? Those two are sometimes in battle for me, and it's a weird battle because you don't know. There's no like you don't have the answers. Like how I used to do math back in the day, and they had like little workbooks and stuff, and you'll do a problem and then you can flip to the back where the answers were. You can kind of double check as you're going along. Like, okay, cool. I got the last two right, and then you've missed one. You're like, what I do wrong? That kind of thing. In this internal struggle, the answer and the outcome is not known, and so it's really hard to know which one is right because there's no guidance. You won't know if you're right until you get to wherever you're trying to get to. So I guess this is when I like will depend on the wisdom of friends, or pray on it or what have you, because I mean both have merit, right? There's if I'm struggling at something for X number of time, then it's easy to say, well, listen, maybe that's just not the right thing to do. Maybe you need to change course. Like there's logic in that, and there's also logic in, well, this is just a rough patch and I can get through it. And so they're, I don't know, maybe equally logical, but can both just as easily be wrong. So I would say that's probably the thing that I struggle with the most. And again, this is my life mantra. So there are people who just kind of dabble in this. And so I understand how much of a struggle it could be to really stay true to whatever you believe is right, especially for you. One of the things I do every year, because we're talking about thankfulness and gratitude and happiness, is every year, the day before my birthday, I do like a yearly recap gratitude video. That's probably a shorter way to say that, but whatever. It's always odd to, because I occasionally go back and look at them. I've been doing this since I was 25, and it's me like in my room. There's no one around. I just set the camera up, and just it's almost like doing a self tape audition, and I just talk. I don't have a set time. I don't have like a set schedule or anything, and what happened in the past year. And so it's like, oh, well, last year I moved, I got a new car, got promotion, and you do all those things. But you also have to recap the bad stuff because that's part of the year, right? So then it's like, okay, then I got in debt, or I got injured, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately, you're there making a video. So no matter how bad things got, they didn't get that bad because one, you still have a camera. Two, I'm in a room, so you have a place to live. And three, probably gotten past whatever it is that was really bad for you. And a lot of negative stuff comes up in these videos because, I mean, let's be real, a lot of negative stuff happens, and no matter how you want to like try to flip stuff. And one of the things that happens when you do a yearly video is that you're usually past all the negative stuff, so now you have perspective on the negativity. And you can look back on it and say, I'm thankful that I went through that. Which is kind of a weird thought to me. I'm thankful that I struggled, which just sounds dumb. No one wants to struggle. But you can look back and say you're thankful about it, because it may have exposed some flaws in what you've been doing, or it may have pushed you to be better. Like, for example, you could be doing something the wrong way and be getting a good result. And then you take the result to mean that what you've been doing is good. And so as long as the results are good, you keep doing the bad thing. And then when things kind of go sideways, then it's, oh man, I didn't realize that I was living a certain way negatively, or I was doing the wrong things but was getting a good result. So me falling on my face made me redo the way I was doing it. And so that's the benefit. That's the silver lining, I guess. Falling on your face hurts. So no one's like, yay, my face is broken. That's dumb. But like that's kind of what you have after a year, because while you're going through that, someone's like, if I try to give you that perspective while you're going through it, hey man, you fell on your face, but at least now you can pick yourself back up. You'd be like, yo, fuck you. And you might like stiff arm me in the face because you don't have perspective yet. You're going through it. And so whenever I'm looking forward to my next video because I'm in the midst of trying to improve my life and, you know, pick myself back up and get to a higher level. And so right now, like when people ask me how you're doing, I'm struggling. I'm working on it. I'm making it work. But in a few months when I, have my birthday conversation, I can look back and say, man, a few months ago I was really struggling, man. I was really going through it. But thankfully, X, Y, and Z happened, and now I can look back on it and say, I got through that, man. I think this practice is useful because you get to see how you evolve over the years, right? I remember after the first video I did, I think I was just moving from my first spot in Miami to like Coral Gables, and I remember thinking, man, I used to live for like 45 minutes from work. I said, man, I'm driving 45 minutes to work every day. I got like 2 clients. I'm just trying to make it, man. I moved to Miami to kind of like get closer to my dream. And then by the time the next video came out, I was like, okay, I now live 3 miles from my job. I have like 9 clients. Still not where I want to be, but man, it was crazy. And then the next video was, I live like a mile from work. I have like 15 clients. I'm as stable as I've ever been. XYZ. Then it kept going, and by the end of the video, it was like by last year's video, I had just moved to California, and it was like I went from being the most stable to being unstable. But I'm in the city. I've been on TV once, maybe a couple of the extra times, like just like being an extra or whatever. And it was just trying to like see the progression of it, because I think we often forget how much stuff we actually go through. Right? Like we really, like the big things stand out. The breakups stand out. Firings, deaths, right? Those things really stand out. But there's a lot of little struggles you go through daily, weekly, monthly, right? And they just kind of get lost in the wash. They're not significant enough to remember, like, to just instant recall. But then when you sit down and you do a video, then you just like, okay, yeah, that happened this year. Oh, that was in March. That happened in August. Cool. And so when you go back and rewatch it 3 or 4 years later, you're like, oh shit, I forgot I even had a roommate that I hated, that I had to try to like get, thrown out of the apartment complex because they were stealing stuff. Or, man, I forgot me and my mom were beefing during that time. And you forget all these little things. And it's like, most of that stuff doesn't even matter at the end of the day, right? In the moment, it was the hardest thing in the world for you to go through, and it was a struggle, and me and my sister were never going to get past this. And then like 2 years later, it's like you're at your sister's, I don't know, wedding or something, and you're like the maid of honor or something. And it's like, man, 2 years ago, I thought I'd never be cool with her again. And then, you're the most important person at her wedding other than like the groom, obviously. And so it's I think it's healthy, because those moments in the video are pure. There's no one around. You're not trying to perform. You're not performing for anybody. You're not posting it to social media. That's not what this drill is. This is really just for you. And usually, a video is a lot longer than a minute anyway, so you can't really post it on social media. But it's a really good drill to go through and rewatch when you feel like you're going through something currently that you don't know if you can get through it or not. And it really just keeps you encouraged because I don't know, it's a good reminder, and it's you reminding you. It's not your friends trying to reach out to you and say, "Come on, you'll be okay," because that's what their job is. But it doesn't mean it's true. It's just that's what their job is, and if you're not ready to hear that from somebody, even if they're telling you the truth, you're not going to hear it the right way. But when you hear it from you, I don't know, it feels more. It's like uncut dope. It's like it's pure. It's not being tainted by like their friendship for you or like your family's love of you. This is you talking to you. And you can look at you and say, first of all, what was I doing with my hair? I saw one video from when I was like 27 where I promised I had an S curl in my hair. I was like, that boy got that so glow going. And I was disgusted with myself. But at the time, I thought I was killing the game. I was like, y'all ain't never seen baby curls like this since Genuine, the Bachelor cover. I was that dude. Just got to throw it in there. But you hearing it from yourself, and there's something pure about that. So I highly encourage you guys to try this. It's if you have a phone, which I hope the whole world does at this point, or even like a DSLR where you can kind of set it up and just with a tripod or whatever, and just recap your year right before your birthday, or right before the end of the year. You can do it on the 30th or 31st. I do it for my birthday because my birthday is dope. So I like it's right around Valentine's, so I just like to do it because love's in the air, and I don't know, I want to love myself a little better. But I highly encourage it, and then treat it like one of those, what do they call it, like not lock boxes, but time boxes or time keep things, where you would like write it in middle school, like when I grow up in 10 years I want to be so and so, and you bury it and then you go back and look at it. It's like that in video form without like the gap in between it. Um, Try this out, and then you won't appreciate it in the moment, but like 3 or 4 years from now, when you go back and look at them, you're like, yo, Chris Kane was onto something, man. This is really helpful, and hopefully, whatever you're going through now, 3 or 4 years from now, you can look back on it and laugh, or this can be the turning point in you being whatever you want to be. I hope it is for me, and so far, um, it has been. So I'm gonna leave the podcast now. Hope you guys, are doing what you're doing with your families and loved ones and food and all that stuff. I imagine the gyms are going to be flooded tomorrow because people need to sweat off fat and alcohol. You cannot undo Thanksgiving in one day. Contrary to popular belief, I don't care if you do 9 classes in a row, it's still a lot of calories. Um, Thank y'all for listening as always. Tell your friends and family, subscribe, all the fun stuff. I don't know how to promote, just, I don't know, listen, tell people about it. And hopefully this was valuable to you guys, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.